Hello YouTube and welcome to another of LG Machine Gaming Reviews, and today I'm going to do something very different. I tend to stick around the very same games, but I'm going to show you something very different entirely. Okay, so we're talking about Dayz. Now this is the full version alpha, which is coming out hopefully very soon. Now there's been an update today on the developer blog and on the Dayz forums, which Rocket has posted. Which I think is right in the nick of time. I think after the new year, which everyone was expecting something a little bit earlier, hopefully in December, but unfortunately not. We've got a new update. So straight away on the forums, as you can probably see on the screen now, first screenshot which Rocket posted. Now this is showing the new loot spawn system. Now you can see you've got sort of items on top of surfaces, so it's beans and a axe on the windowsill and on the table, and also a axe on the wall as well. Now at the minute you can see the room's quite bare. There's not really a lot going on. Now I know from previous posts that Rocket's put until the game becomes actually stable, I won't really go into so much detail and putting gore in as such. But you can see straight off from the video, with high resolution textures, the images are really quite sharp. You've got plenty of light. You can actually see in and out of the windows now. So it's quite an improvement. And then from the bottom right, you can see it's got the Dayz GC Alpha. So you can start seeing that this is going to be something we'll probably get familiar with. And then following on from this post that Rocket put, another Dayz forum user, or one of the admin team, also put a couple more screenshots on. Now these screenshots were quite interesting in particular. These first, which looks like an old abandoned restaurant, you can see like the beer pumps, the old tables, very similar props to the previous photo, but it's added like props, so you got all the windows, letting all the light in. You got the wall with all the different textures, especially the wall on the right hand side. It's got like a broken plaster effect with all the bricks shown underneath. So hopefully this might possibly be part of some form of damage system. So you know, if you shoot a wall or damage it with a grenade, it starts showing up these underside textures. That'd be quite an interesting thing to see. You can see all these chairs lying on the side, standing up, one's upside down. It'll also be quite interesting to see how these move. If they're actually movable items, can you destroy them? It'd be quite interesting. I think it'll start moving into more of a sandbox. Now at first I don't think this is going to be quite possible. And I'll be very surprised if it's ever really necessary. But it'll be quite a cool prop, you know, if you could take these parts, loot them, make them into your own base. You know, we can go around the world. At least it gives you a purpose, except for going around shooting noobs in Kabanka, which is good for some. So again, showing really high res textures, new lighting, just generally a total upgrade from the systems. It's going to be quite interesting to see what goes on. Okay, now the following photo. This is another one from the same post. Now this is probably more so showing the lighting and the windows. In this window you can't really see much going on. There's some basic sort of wallpaper protection on the wall with some flowers. Not really a lot going on really. I think this is more so showing it as Dayz, the game at the moment. You can't really see through these broken windows, and if that, a lot of them aren't actually broken. So it's sort of bringing the outside world in, or the inside world out. Depends which way you think of it. Okay, so go to the next photo. Again, this is looking like an old restaurant, sort of a photo from a different angle with light coming in. So this is sort of showing like a transition through the day. So a little like Dayz, where it's very grainy all the time. There's not really a lot going on. It's something that wherever you go, whatever time of the day you're playing the game, it's always going to be very different. So the experience is always going to be very different. Okay, now going on to the next photo. Just talking about the previous photos, but such, it'd be nice to see if they make sure that in the Dayz development they don't bring too much of a generic feel to all the buildings, which at the minute with the current Dayz, which is understandable considering it being a total mod of a game, is that everything seems very generic, everything's the same, all the props are the same as each other. So it'd be nice if slowly over time they just make small changes, or anything that can be changed, or even if the servers wear after a while, so the buildings become very worn and torn and covered in blood. You know, sort of wear it, give it a feel in the story. It'd be quite interesting to see how that moves. Okay, now following photo, moving into somebody's old kitchen. Same very basic props on the wall. So which in this Dayz at the moment you don't see at all. You don't see these portraits on the wall with some little church in it. You can see these cupboards. Now these cupboards in particular are quite interesting because this reflects that there's a possibility that these cupboards can actually be opened, meaning that the loot possibilities are going to be ridiculously endless. You know, I mean, the chances of somebody keeping an M4 CCO carbine inside a cupboard is very minimal, but chances are, it's, 1 in a million, somebody's gonna have one. So yeah, so you can just see this one of these cupboards is open on the wall, and it's got some little wooden bolt dolls inside. I don't know what the name of those dolls are. I'll probably look at that after, or somebody will beat me up for saying the wrong thing. So yeah, so you can see this one very basic again. There's not really a lot going outside. There's not a lot of light actually coming into this room. So it's sort of showing sort of indirect lighting, so it's showing now shading. So I think at the minute you can't really see as many reflections going on. If that there is absolutely no reflections going on. Probably bar the bottom of the refrigerator. But so I think obviously being a very early phase, I don't think it's really moaning. To be honest, I wouldn't be bothered if there weren't any reflections, because the last thing I'm going to be doing when I'm hiding from some guy with an AS50 is looking at the reflections on the floor. So let's carry on. Now it's one of my favourite photos, probably more so the second one as such. But this one is an old hallway in some apartment block by the looks of it. So you can see a set of stairs down to the left. Again, this sort of broken plaster texture with a photo just above it, so it's giving that sort of homely feel. You can see these shoes all over the floor, so giving that homely feel. These were once lived in, what was the story behind it? But then if you look to the right, you've got these doors, which definitely do not open unless that is the world's most powerful 2D door. Yeah, you can sort of see there's a lot to go still, but again, it's not worth complaining about. It's something serious to note, but nothing to complain about. Again, you can see these new textures. Now, in particular, it depends on if this is actually meant or not. But if you look at the wooden panelling inside that room just ahead, you can see like a very glossy effect, as if there is actually reflections going on. Because if you follow the legs from the chair, you can actually see a reflection. So there is reflections in this game now. If it's a reason for that, if it's wet, or if it's just general light and it's bouncing in and creating that, it'd be quite interesting to see how that's implemented into the game. Okay, now moving on to the next photo. This is just a photo of one of the character models, this being a woman just in blue denim, or blue denim jeans and some blue sporty jacket thingy, or hoodie, lol. Yeah, so this is just based showing a high-res texture. Now, in fairness, it's really quite a high-resolution texture. It will be really cool to start seeing these in action, and especially how much you can change your character, make them yours in particular. Because Dayz was very generic, it's very army personnel look. So it was all basically the same person. You were a man, and you could only, you could be a female, and you could never be a ghillie suit, or you could run around as a man and wear a ghillie suit. So at least I think this is going to show now, looking at the notes, they did mention that all clothing is going to be unisex, so that would be quite interesting if you could get pink clothes and put it on a man. That would be a perfect target in the middle of the night. Or even glow-in-the-dark clothes. That would be mint. So there's nothing really to talk about with that, so it's just showing the models. You can see highlights at the top left. Okay, moving to the next photo. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Man in the middle of a field wearing only Speedos. Yeah. Okay, right, anyway. So, again, it's showing this high resolution texture of a male character wearing Speedos. But again, you can sort of see that the actual character texture is really quite high res. Now, you can see before, it's a very different type of face. It looks as if the nose is very pointy. So, hopefully, it will give that very personal touch with how to customise your character in some ways. If it's a set thing, or if you can change it at points, it'd probably be better if it's set from the start, and then if you kill your character, then you can choose to change that. As it currently is now, which is probably the best way of keeping it. I don't think there's anything in particular in the actual background surrounding it. You can see there's actually you got a reflection on this now, so I'll take that back about reflections. Reflections and shadows, sorry. The shadows being obviously just behind the guy. Now the backing itself of the trees looks quite standard. If anything, they've probably just put a higher res texture onto it. I think the main concern that I'd like to see in Dayz, the actual game, is to make sure that they get the world loading a little bit more optimised. At the minute, if you want to snipe, or you're hiding from somebody sniping, you're lying in the bush in the middle of a field, and the tree doesn't load in for them, but you do. It's Christmas for you. So hopefully, I mean, if anything, they've definitely sorted that, but I've not seen any notes that really suggest that as such, but I think it's just taken. Okay, moving on to the next photo. Fairly pointless within reason. I can't really see what it's trying to show, but an aerial photo of the southern part of Cherno. So you've got the town of Kamenka, and just on the top right, I believe, would be the Southwest airfield. And then you can see right at the top right, which should be Cherno. If memory serves right, I might be wrong on that. I'll take it back if I am. Now, from this, you can see there's a lot of buildings missing, if I remember right. Especially when you look at in the centre, right, just before the airfield, there is a little town. I think that is actually Kamenka. I can't really remember too long. But there is a little dock to the right of it now. By looks at in the game, there is a massive set of warehouses there and a couple of buildings with a couple of crates. There is nothing there, so unless that's just because it's not loaded in. But then again, when we look down to this little town just below us, which is definitely going to be Kamenka if this one isn't, there is nothing on the actual dock. If this is the way it's going to be gone, I don't know. Trees seem to be pretty much the same as the standard game. Doesn't really see a lot of change much. The layout's basically the same. Seems like a very empty map. If that, it doesn't really seem much there. So unless this is just because of it not loading into the world, I think it'd be interesting to see a couple more photos of these aerial maps to sort of give an idea of what you're going to be going against, and it's going to give sort of the hardcore players a bit of an advantage to the best places to start, really, because I can imagine with the full version they're certainly going to be changing the well-known spots. I definitely think that Electro and Cherno are going to be hotspots regardless of if it's a mod or if it's a full game, because everyone knows that's where you go, especially Electro or Cherno. Take a pick. Okay, now moving on to one of the final photos, bar 2. This is again another character, but this one is probably my most favourite photo out of all of them so far. It's been released. Showing a male character now. He seems very customised now. Going back to the previous but one photo, the guy in the speedos, lol. It looks like you can take your clothes off. Now, I did see a post from one of the developers that does suggest that you can take your clothes off. So this is going to create some interesting situations with people with very large weapons against people with very small weapons, including strip naked and dance. That will be very cool. But again, you can see his customization here. You've got a guy wearing trainers, he's got black jeans, he's got this red jumper on, and he's got a coyote backpack, which we all love. The resolution textures on these are absolutely amazing. Again, you got the shadows. He's looking really quite slick now. I still think they probably could do with changing the textures of the actual world itself, because even though it was a great world, and to be honest, for what it is, Dayz, it's got very good graphics in it. I think it needs that little different touch. I think the shading or just that small change to distinguish this is Dayz, the game, not the mod. But again, looking at the characters compared to what you're used to, it's certainly a big change. Okay, now moving on to one of the next posts. It's one of the last ones as far as I have made this video, which Rocket posted himself again. This is just another basic room. Looks like some type of old warehouse. The windows are broken through, reflections and light coming in. There's not really much going on. Some empty boxes, rack mounts, nothing going on at all. If anything, the reflections on the floor of the light doesn't really show what is actually in the wall. But then again, you know, broken pieces of glass, why are you going to be bothered if it's not in the reflection? So it's really up to you, depends on how hypothetical you're going to be about picking things out. It's cool to see if you look over across the room into the street and to the other building, is you can't really see much into them now. If this isn't because they're just at the time they haven't actually finished those buildings, or if it's going to be a point where it's never going to be possible to get into every building. It'd be definitely cool if you can. It's going to create some very interesting situations in the cities, especially with a lot of campers, a lot of noobs that want to just sort of camp out and get the gear together before they start making a move. You know, you can certainly ambush the best of people in cities, especially when you'll be able to enter them all. Nothing really special about this photo in particular. Okay, now the last photo I come to, which again is a sort of warehouse sort of thing, or must be like a hotel foyer that you did have work being done to it. this does look like immensely tidy, considering there's a zombie apocalypse and somebody decided to neatly put the wheelbarrow next to the wall. How nice of them, as if anyone cared. Again, there's this broken plaster texture, which I'm seeming to really like. It gives that sort of worn effect. I think as soon as it's added with the blood effect, regardless if it's done by characters, which would be quite cool, to be honest. I think if they start with a clean slate and as the server gets older, the stains and the remains are left, that'll be very cool. At least then every effect, every building, everything that happens into it's going to have a story. There's going to be nothing better than walking into what you think is a totally empty building to find a pile of bodies, some blood sprayed at the wall. Yeah, I'd probably start moving, as if that's not a trap anyway. There's not really a lot going on. Again, there's no shadowing in the photo. The light doesn't really seem to beam in at all. There's no lighter or darker areas. This is probably more so to reflect the textures in the photo than it would be to show its total capacity. I think it's probably best for the minute they keep the lid on most of things. But it would have been nice in a couple more of these photos to show a bit more about the loot system and what's going on and where we're going to expect things to be. Or at least where we think we're going to expect things to be anyway. So I think I can cap that off now. I've been talking for quite a while, so I'm going to have to try and stretch this video out to make sure that I don't bore you to death anyway, if you can't understand my accent. But yeah, okay, so please comment, have a chat about what you think. Let me know if there's any more videos, or even if you'd like me to put some Dayz gameplay. I do play Dayz quite a lot. Not done recently, just generally with Christmas and waiting for the official game to come out. I've just been sort of chilling out, getting a bit of a life before I lose it all again. So thank you very much for watching my video. It would be really helpful if you comment, rate and subscribe. If you do so, I will get a video out very shortly. Thank you very much for watching. Bye bye.